My presentation is divided up into about 4 parts. So number one, I'm going to tell you a little bit about me, but more about Sandag and what we do. We're kind of unique. I'm going to talk about how we can cast vision for the future, especially when it comes to technology. Then I'm going to take a quick look back to see where we were, what we're doing currently, and then tell you what our immediate future looks like as far as in the San Diego region. So first, let me tell you a little bit about Sandag. Sandag, or the San Diego Association of Governments, is a metropolitan planning organization. We're also a council of governments, but we're a little bit unique in the state of California. Not only do we do long-range planning, and do we do design and engineering of transportation projects, non-highway, but for local streets and roads and for our transit systems. But we also help fund and help work with our local District 11 here with Caltrans. But we do some unique stuff as well. We are the operator of Freeway Service Patrol in the region and the Call Box program that comes under our purview. We operate a toll road just south of here, the State Route 125, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how we're using State Route 125 in our forward-looking progress. Very interesting, back in 2011, the State Route 125 was a public-private partnership with an overseas firm who built it and had the franchise agreement from Caltrans or the state to operate it until 2048. They went into bankruptcy in 2011 with the actually, their trouble started a few years before that with the downturn of economy, trying to make their overhead. They had to keep toll rates at a certain rate. 2011, they started going into reorganization, and then they filed Chapter 13. And Sandag was able to come in and pick up that private road and assume the franchise agreement for pennies on the dollar. We actually borrowed money from ourselves. Sandag, we have a half-cent sales tax, self-help county. We borrowed it from another corridor in order to relieve congestion in that area, and we're paying ourselves back. We also took out a TIFIA, or there was an existing TIFIA loan, and this week we've just refinanced under a single debt instrument, and we're going to be saving some over the life of the loan, about $120 million. So what did we do with that savings? We immediately lowered tolls. Our revenues are up because trips are up and people are using the South Bay Expressway as an alternative route to the 805 in the South Bay. So we operate a toll road, we operate the Freeway Service Patrol and the Call Box, and we also are the tolling agency in this region. So if any of you came down the I-15, you'll notice that we have a very beautiful facility there with 4 managed lanes in the middle. We sell off that excess capacity to single occupancy vehicles where normally it's a HOV facility. So spent about, back in 2011, 2012, spent $1.4 billion in that corridor, and I'm very happy with it today. So moving forward a little bit, part of my job at Sandag is to think long-term. So Sandag is a planning organization. I'm not a planner at heart. I'm a technologist at heart, and I've always, throughout my career, it's been not about the technology, but about applying it for efficiency and effectiveness, whether it's in transportation, whether it's in accounting, or etc. But one of the things that I've had a stretch goal over the last several years is long-range planning. They came to us and they said, well, you guys are the technology guys. What's technology going to look like in 2050? Well, let me ask you, what is technology going to look like in 2050? Do we have any idea? It's quite a reach to imagine even 10 years in the future of technology and trying to predict where that's going. I'm going to highlight a few areas, but just imagine how many of you have a smartphone today. I bet if you didn't have a smartphone, I'd be very surprised. Roll back the clock 10 years and I say the same answer, and there'd be a handful of geeks that had it, and the rest of you would just be looking clueless. But how has that transformed us? And I will get into that. So one of the things that we do there is envision this technology, primarily transportation technology, but I'm going to take you on a journey that's not just going to be looking at autonomous vehicles or connected vehicles or improvements in sensing or pavement. I'm going to take you on a journey that looks at disruptive technology, and it's mostly outside of the transportation sphere. So first let me talk a little bit about general technology trends. And when we look at general technology trends, we usually look out about 10 years and then try to extrapolate further. So I'm going to go through these and then just kind of explain and give you some personal stories around them. So ubiquitous broadband connectivity. Wow, what does that mean? Let me boil it down. High-speed internet everywhere, anytime. We're almost there. You guys have conference Wi-Fi here. You have 4G LTE on your phones, soon to be 5G. But imagine a lot of rural America doesn't have high-speed broadband connectivity, and then not to even mention the rest of the world. And then companies like Facebook and Google are actively seeking how they can get low-cost, high-speed internet to emerging countries like China, India, etc. And they've got to be thinking there's a buck in there somewhere, or else they wouldn't be planning this. There are such things as satellites, balloons, weather balloons turned into repeaters and hubs, whatever they can do to get everybody connected. And then you've probably heard the term Internet of Things. Everything is connected. I'm probably a holdout. I have a refrigerator that is now 30 years old. Everyone tells me to replace it, but I've had friends go out and buy the latest, greatest LG refrigerator, $6,000. It talks to you. It's connected to the internet. It can take a picture of what's inside, send it to your phone. It can order milk, and Amazon will deliver it. Well, my 30-year-old GE keeps cranking along. Now, it's probably pretty expensive, but I haven't had to replace it in 30 years. But everything is getting connected. Whether it's your refrigerator, whether it's your car, whether it's your cell phone, everything is connected, and that plethora of data out there is helping us envision where we're going. As mentioned, big data is probably the next biggest area. We've got a lot of data, but do we have a lot of information? Just alone, a single connected vehicle is predicted to generate 4 terabytes of data a day. And just multiply that by the number of vehicles in the United States and the number of days in the year, and it's astounding. But we're awash in data, but do we really have the information? Big data is about taking bits of data and analyzing them, or using machine learning to look at that data to extrapolate such things as information or decision support systems. And I'm going to talk about decision support systems in just a minute. Decision support system is taking that, let's say you are a Caltrans TMC operator, having a system actually tell you when things are when A, B, and C start happening, you know that X is going to occur. And so taking those information that we do every day and putting it in a computer so that it can alert you, can proactively manage. Well, we're just one step away from artificial intelligence. We start with decision support system, and the end result is AI, or artificial intelligence. And then I don't know how many of you, there's efforts. Amazon is big into AI to predict what you're going to buy next and to sell you things. But one great example, just a few years ago, IBM Watson, a computer program, probably burgeoning AI, won Jeopardy as a champion. So beat out all the smart guys, and you think, well, of course, a computer's going to be, but being able to listen to the questions backwards and answer it, that's a little difficult. So just imagine 10 years from now, AI is going to be everywhere. And then robotics. I have a picture of R2-D2 up here, but what we think of robotics, we've had it in manufacturing for decades. And it is changing the landscape of employment and jobs in this country. But think that even autonomous vehicles is a form of robotics, a self-driving vehicle that operates itself, has some kind of intelligence, sensing technology, etc., but makes decisions on its own. And so robotics are going to be everywhere, not your personal Android assistant, but robotics in everything we do. Amazon is heavily investing in robotics, has been for the last 10 years, and now Walmart is seeing the light here. So if you go to one of their distribution centers, you're not allowed to walk onto the floor because it's all done. Everything is warehouse picked and shipped by a robot. So where is that going to go? How is that going to influence? So these general trends in technology have really nothing to do with transportation, but they will affect our transportation systems and the demand on our roadways. Now delving into, we talked a little bit about personal technology, smartphones. The Apple iPhone turned 10 years old, and they weren't the first So they weren't the first smartphone vendor out there, but they certainly have changed the landscape. When Apple iPhone first launched 10 years ago, it had a couple of apps, and then immediately the App Store just started to spring with everybody. In fact, 5 years ago I read this article about a bunch of different applications that were available. One of them will surprise you. Your iPhone can act as a mosquito repellent. You go, well, is there a little nozzle that sprays out of there? No, it puts out a high-pitched frequency that I suppose mosquitoes don't like. But who would even think that your smartphone in your pocket could repel mosquitoes? Don't really need it here, but going south maybe. But that's just the key. I recently, last week or the week before, I was up at an ITS, or Intelligent Transportation Society, meeting up in San Francisco. On my smartphone, I was able to book my Southwest trip. I was able to book my hotel. My hotel key was on my phone. My boarding pass was on my phone. So really, I had to have my ID in my phone in order to move around San Francisco. And I also took advantage of Uber, ride sharing, the shared economy. Took 3 or 4 Ubers. It was just seamless. So if I can be able to do that today, seamlessly, just put on your thinking cap, think 10 years, how is that going to change? Wearable technology. So I read in your little program, if you read the California Fun Facts, do you know what California's official cloth is? Come on, somebody must have read that. It's Levi, it's denim, because of Levi Strauss. He emigrated to California, started up his Levi Strauss empire. Well, this year, Levi Strauss is going to reimagine their denim jacket. They're putting a computer in the sleeve, so you don't have to have an Apple iPhone or iWatch. You don't have to have a device. Your actual jacket will be a smart device that can connect to the internet. I don't even know what you'll do with that, but that's what's being imagined. I put down here swallowable computers, but you think what? Swallowable computers? Well, computers, and you can take this from me, in 10 years we won't have a word computer because it will be everywhere. It'll be everything. It'll be this podium. It'll be this microphone. It won't be a device that you carry. It will be in everything. So I told you a little bit about the denim jacket. Well, medical science is really pushing computing technology pretty far. They're using tattooing with special inks that can pick up your bioelectric energy and then give a color code indication to your doctor. My wife had a valve replacement surgery about 3 years ago, and in the laboratory, they told her, here, take this, swallow it. There was a sensing device, and it went down her esophagus, taking pictures and sending telemetry to the doctor. Okay, now think about 10 years. Are you really going to have to go into a hospital in order to get diagnosed? That's probably going to be at home. They'll send you that pill in the mail, you'll swallow it, and it'll send it to the internet, and your doctor will pick it up. You'll go to the hospital or the doctor for procedures, but not the diagnosis. So healthcare is really changing that. Augmented reality. So you've probably heard of virtual reality, gamers putting on glasses and seeing, but augmented reality. And so I have a picture of Google Glass. Google Glass 1.0 kind of fell on its face, no pun intended. But 2.0 is out, and there are a whole host of things out there that can be done with augmented reality. One of them is here in San Diego, a solar contractor, roofing contractor, saw a potential immediately, bought a whole ton of Google Glass, gave them to all their solar installers. They kept the engineers back at the office. The installers would go out, take pictures, measurements with their glass, and then if they got into issues, they could talk live with the engineer back at the office. And so instead of having an engineer on site at every job, they had fewer engineers back at the office, saving them time. But just imagine universities, schooling changing with augmented reality, being in this room, but being in distant learning, but being able to interact, move objects in real time, looking at a chalkboard or a whiteboard without being present. So how is that going to change our transportation? It probably will lower demand on one point. And then I have a picture of Echo Dot. A couple of weeks ago, I won an Echo Dot in a raffle. I didn't even know what to do with it, but now I don't think I can live without it. I've been ordering from Amazon. I've been listening to music. I've been asking it questions. Take that a few years in the future. Okay, I'm going to get to vehicle technology. So, alternative fueled vehicle, big trend. We've seen a huge increase in California of electric vehicle. The two leading areas are San Francisco and San Diego, but not just electric vehicles. Hydrogen vehicles are coming out that promise us even a different fuel source. Lighter framed vehicles, being able to go further. Autonomous vehicles, probably heard a lot about self-driving cars. So there's two tracks going on: the autonomous vehicle that can safely operate all by itself, and then the connected vehicle, an FHWA or US DOT effort to get vehicles to talk to vehicles and vehicles to talk to infrastructure, primarily for a safety objective. But once vehicles start talking to each other and to the infrastructure, coordination starts happening, and so we can manage congestion, we can do platooning, we can do variable speed and enforce variable speeds by just saying this lane is now 45 miles an hour. 5 miles before an accident, slow everybody down. Autonomous vehicles, I predict, will be, there's all kinds of levels of autonomy. You're not going to see true self-driving, completely autonomous vehicles, no driver, no wheel, for probably 20 to 30 years. But you're going to see a lot of advancements before that. I have a picture of a low-speed autonomous vehicle up there in the upper right-hand corner. That's already being deployed. Places like Heathrow Airport have tried experiments where you park, a little shuttle comes and picks you up, you get on the shuttle and you go to the gate. No driver. Just imagine what that's going to be like. And so moving on, electrified infrastructure could be coming. So with more electric vehicles or hydrogen vehicles, range anxiety is big. But with inductive technology, being able to recharge the batteries while you're driving, or at least parked over a recharging spot, could really increase our driving habits with electric vehicles. So that's looking forward, what we're doing. Let me take a few minutes and start looking back. So San Diego, you may or may not know, was the home of the National Automated Highway System Demonstration Project in '97. That very same I-15 that I was telling you about, we had 8 miles of barrier-divided lanes in the middle, and the US DOT and Berkeley and Carnegie Mellon came out here to test and did car platooning. Back then, we thought it was going to be the smart road that dictated everything. Now the look is towards the vehicle and being able to have the road have information from the vehicle. So we are doing a lot of things in this area. I've talked about the I-15. Here's a picture of the I-15. We did an integrated corridor management, a decision support system. Here in the region, we worked with Caltrans District 11. We integrated such things as shared mobility, transit, highway, and traffic all into a single decision support system, so that if we needed to reroute or we needed to send emergency messages, we had more than just the highway radio and the CMS signs. We could actually push that information for participants to their phone to alert them to this. We've rolled out in that corridor smart parking, and we're working currently on 2 projects in the South Bay, our smart border pilot and buses on shoulder. We're trying to use technology in order to prove that we can safely, in times of congestion for certain vehicles, use that shoulder in that capacity. So now let me tell you some exciting news in the last minute or half I have to tell you. So San Diego went after a designation last year. It's called the Autonomous Vehicle Proving Ground. No money attached to that, but bragging rights. There are 10 that were designated throughout the country, 2 here in California, 1 up in San Francisco Bay Area, Go Momentum Station in San Diego, and then 8 others across the United States. What's unique about the San Diego is we've targeted live and open facilities, including the I-15, as well I-15 express lanes. We can close them down if necessary to run tests, but we can collect a lot of data and have a lot of companies come and see what they do. But South Bay Expressway, I've mentioned that toll road that we have. So there's a planned master community out in the southeast of San Diego. But the southern 5 miles of that road are currently underutilized. So we're actually hosting an event later this month to do some tests from DSRC, which is the connected vehicle radio communication, against 5G, which will be the new cell phone communication. Not here yet. And then the entire city streets of Chula Vista has been designated as a proving ground. I mentioned earlier about doing low-speed autonomous shuttles. There's a master community in Chula Vista, and they have a city of villages that are connected by these neighborhood electric vehicle paths. So the thought is that somebody could buy a home out there in Eastlake, but not have to buy a second car. So shopping, getting connected to transit can be done with a shared use autonomous vehicle, and then connecting them to neighborhoods or to shopping and entertainment. So we're very excited to be participating with our partners at Caltrans District 11, the City of Chula Vista, and the City of San Diego in this pilot process. But these are just things that we're imagining. Where technology is going to take us, where the disruption of technology, we're not sure, but stay tuned. That concludes my presentation, but if
The preceding video was produced by the National Center for Pavement Preservation. More information can be found at tsp2.org. That's tsp2.org. Additional support provided by Michigan State University.